Is it? I can't ever keep up with it. I thought when we first started this thing with conduit, I thought it was a 2 week thing, and now it's like it's 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, no, conduit is a 3 week. Well, are you talking about 3 weeks from the March the 29th?
Hello.
Hi, Joan. It's Jennifer Cannell and Bernard Houston.
Hi, how y'all doing?
Doing well, thanks.
I Apologize, we're having some technical difficulties today.
In now.
Okay. Audience, I hope you all are still with us. Again, apologize for some technical difficulties we're experiencing this morning. I think maybe they're being resolved, and we'll start with today's session. Again, apologize for the technical difficulties we're experiencing at this time. Hey, Jennifer, if you're ready, you can go ahead and share the information you have to share.
Thank you, Joan, for the opportunity to be a part of the webinar today. We don't have a lot of new information to share. We have the new Safer at Home order in place now that will go into effect Friday at 5 o'clock. And so that one, as far as daycare or childcare is concerned, is still consistent with the current order. So as long as there are not 12 or more children in a room, then childcare or facilities are okay to operate. And of course, the health order still encourages facilities to use enhanced sanitation procedures and things like that. So, we are still working to help families, find childcare. We still have the map that's located on the DHR website of facilities that are currently operating during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we encourage our facilities to let us know if they've opened back up so that we can add you to that map and families can find care. We are doing some things with our subsidy program to serve healthcare workers and healthcare providers and caregivers, and also continuing our sustainability payments to facilities, whether they are open or closed. So I think from our perspective at DHR, we're still moving forward and working, and not a lot changed in regards to the Safer at Home order in regards to childcare. So.
Okay.
Bernard is with me as well. He's just off camera.
Well, again, thank you for that update, Jennifer. We do have several questions that have been coming in on the chat, particularly with regard to the number of children that can be in a room. If a room has dividers, does that count as a way to separate space?
So what we would say to people to do is to go with what your licensing capacity is for each of those rooms. So if you have rooms with a divider up and you have two sets of equipment and licensing has been counting those as two different rooms, then we would continue to interpret that as two different rooms that way. So we have many facilities that have separated spaces by half walls or dividers in that way, and DHR will continue to interpret those individual spaces as rooms, just like we have. If we do not currently count that as two separate rooms and you've gone in and put up dividers, that would be a different story. But if it's already a separated space that you've had and you've got a licensed capacity for each of those rooms or spaces, then then we are still going to interpret it the same way. And we cannot, DHR is not able to enforce the safer at home order or the current stay at home order, which expires on the 30th at 5 p.m. But what we would do is if we thought or went out on a visit and we see evidence that we believe is in conflict with that stay at home order or the safer at home order, then we would just report that to the health department and let them investigate. So because we as an agency don't have the authority to investigate that, to enforce that stay at home order. But that would be the answer to the question. If that currently is considered a separate room and licensing has been counting that as a separate room, you've got a set of equipment in there and a capacity for that, then we would continue to view that as a separate room, even if it was just a half wall.
Okay, that's very good.
We also,
And Bernard's got something to add.
yeah, and we also referred people or requested that people contact public health too if they have questions about the order and the capacity that's dictated by the order. Because I literally got a question from someone saying that if they had, if they were within the minimum standards with respect to our guidelines, but they wanted to use a temporary partition in a gymnasium, if that would be counted as a second room. And I really couldn't answer that for them, and so I referred them to the Department of Public Health to get a response from them.
Yeah. And so we're referring, and that's the example that I mentioned, that somebody's going in and doing that as a change. It's not currently set up that way and is not currently licensed in that way. So yes, definitely refer to the health department, as they are the one that has the authority to enforce that order.
Okay, well, great. That's good information. I think it would be useful for our audience today. Jennifer, would you mind sharing that DHR licensing number that people can call to get clarification on licensing standards? Would you share that number, and I'll type it into the chat for everyone, and I'll say that.
Sure.
Not
Yeah. So if anyone has any questions about anything regarding the minimum standards in operating, our intake line is 866-528-1694. And that's a toll-free number. That's our intake line. We have someone dedicated to answering that phone line and your questions at all times. So definitely give us a call with any questions that you might have. And if we don't have the answer, hopefully we can refer you to the right person or the right agency that would have an answer.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, we're going to move on now to our next presenter. Her name is Jill Hoops. She is the Development and Communications Coordinator at Childcare Resources. I work with her quite often. She manages our social media agency, and our social media activity engagement has certainly picked up since she's been in that role with us now around 2 years. Good morning, Jill. And she has prepared a presentation for you today to talk how you can use social media right now to communicate with your staff, to communicate with your families as you're preparing to welcome them back or welcome more of them back to your program. So Jill, go ahead.
Joan, and good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe, and I hope your loved ones are well. I know we're all navigating a challenging time, but hopefully we'll be back to normal soon. So my name is Jill Hoops, and I'm the Development and Communications Coordinator at Childcare Resources. We are a United Way partner agency and resource and referral agency serving families in Central Alabama. Childcare Resources is dedicated to making quality childcare happen for families, children, the community, and our childcare providers. So on top of the time I spent studying social media in college, I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama. I have over 10 years of experience using my personal social media accounts and a little over 5 years of experience using social media for various business accounts. So I'm so honored to be here in partnership with Voices for Alabama's Children, and I hope that each of you will take at least one thing with you back to your facility to help you navigate and strategize your social media content while most of us are at home. So we can start today by asking, what is social media? And I think a lot of things probably come to mind because it really is such a broad term, but how can we distinguish it from mass media like television or radio, and how is it different from that? So the social part of social media refers to interacting with other people by sharing information with them and receiving information from them. And the media part refers to the specific instrument of communication. I think the biggest difference between mass media like radio and newspaper and social media is important to understand, because rather than providing news in a traditional way, you're creating a two-way communication system for your audience to interact with your content while creating a pathway for you to connect with them as well. And so the best definition I would give for social media is that it's a web-based communication tool that allows people to interact by both sharing and consuming information. So another big question we have is, why is social media important for your business or your brand during a crisis like COVID-19? And how can you use it to leverage your information and content to streamline that to your followers? According to eMarketer, Facebook saw a 70% increase in usage in the month of March alone. So this means that now more than ever, people are turning to social media to keep them entertained and informed and educated, while most of us are spending more time at home. And I think that's exactly why now more than ever, we need to be focusing on how we can get to know our audience better. And Facebook actually has a really good tool for this, where you can get an estimate of your demographics of people who follow you based on their Facebook profiles. So if you go to your Facebook business profile, you'll see where it says Insights at the top. If you scroll on the left side, it'll say People, and this will give you an estimate of those who are following you so that you can streamline your content to what they want to see. Once you know your audience, it's going to be helpful to go and do research on other businesses or brands like yours and what they're doing to connect with their audience and how their followers are responding to it. This is going to help you kind of get started with what they want to see and what they kind of aren't really interested in seeing right now. And from there, I think another interesting thing that you could try is putting yourself in your audience's shoes. So asking yourself, what are they doing while they're at home? Are they working from home? Are they looking for activities to keep their children busy and things like that? Knowing your audience and providing what they need and what they want during this time is going to set the tone for the future of your business long after this crisis is over. So I would take advantage of this time to kind of get to know what they want. And whether you're new to the social media scene or you consider yourself an expert, there's always so much more to be learned. It's an ever-changing field of communication, and now is the perfect time to start getting used to what you need to see for your followers. One way you could do this is to try new types of content by sharing more content that's that you maybe haven't tried before. So if you've never shared videos or downloaded a new social media app like Twitter or Snapchat, now's a good time to kind of experiment with what type of engagement your followers might want to see. Another thing you could do is share more open-ended questions on your profiles. So asking them, what are your children learning while they've been at home with you? Or what are you guys doing to stay busy? Allowing posts like this on your profile is going to give them the opportunity to interact with what you're posting, and it's going to give you organic promotion so that more people will be involved as well. And another thing you should be doing is dedicating time to listen to your followers and answering their questions and replying to their inbox message, and making sure that you are being the resource that they need. Now more than ever, it's important for them to know that you're there and you're going to be there when they need you. So there are hundreds of tips and tools and resources out there that you can use to strategize your content to make it stand out among other profiles. The first one I'm going to share is called Canva, and it's an online tool that's free to use, and it helps you create visually designed pieces. So don't let the design aspect scare you. It's very easy to use, and you can lay images out with text over them. If you want to see some examples, our Facebook page has a lot of promotional pieces that were created in Canva, and that's ccr.bhm. If you check those out, you'll see kind of what we do, and you can go from there. Pexels is another great resource. It provides free stock images that you can download to your computer. And what I like to do is download these stock images and upload them to Canva to overlay text so that I can post those to social media. A little tip I have about stock images, and if you don't know, they're for image placement when you don't necessarily have the resources to take the image yourself. Always be careful you don't choose images that are too staged or outdated. It's going to make your profile really high quality if you have these great pictures that you can use. And another platform that I like to use on a weekly basis is Hootsuite. Hootsuite is a social media managing platform. So you can go in at the beginning of the week and go ahead and manage your time and efforts for social media, and you can schedule all these posts to go out each day at whatever time you need for each platform. Using social media really is one of the best ways to show your followers your company culture. So they want to see what's going on inside of your business and stay in the loop with what you're doing during this time. So one thing you could do with this is consider posting a photo of a staff member talking about what he or she loves about working there and something maybe they miss about the children being gone at home, and sharing what your facility is doing in accordance to the CDC guidelines. And if you wanted to share a throwback photo maybe of the children in your facility, you always want to be sure that you have written consent from the parents to share those on social media. Some parents are not okay with promoting children on social media, but that's okay, and you should always be respectful of that, and just make sure you have their consent before doing so. So I'll transition to a few do's and don'ts of using social media to promote your brand during a crisis. The first thing you should be doing during this time is building relationships and making connections. Social media is designed for you to do both of these things with brands from all over the world, all different types. And it can be very beneficial for your business to build relationships with other organizations like yours to see what they're doing so that you can experiment and learn more about what you can do. You should also really be focusing on transparency. Being transparent is important at all times, but really during a crisis, because your followers want to stay in the loop on what you're doing and what's going on at your facility. They want to know the future of your business and your plans for how you're handling the CDC's guidelines. Another thing that I want to encourage you all to do is take the time to do your research on how each platform is different. They all pose similar, ways of sharing information, but they all have very unique features, and finding out how each one works specifically is going to help you. So a few things you should try staying away from to uphold the positive image that you want from your brand. You don't want to post negative or inappropriate things on your business profile. And while it is important during a crisis to stay honest, it's more important that you don't share negative or false or risky information. And if you have your clients following you on your personal profile, I would also highly recommend this as well. You should also never post images of children unless you have consent from the parents. Be careful before posting them, even if you have consent, and double and triple check. And if the parents wish to not share the children on social media, just be respectful of that. And again, Pexels is a wonderful resource to find images of children, and they're high quality, so it's going to stick out on your profile. Finally, and maybe most importantly, do not share information that is from an untrusted source. And if you don't know if it's trusted or not, the chances are it's probably not. So the best thing you can do for information on COVID-19 is the CDC's website, and they have Childcare division, and with DHR, those are all trusted resources. But over the last few years, social media has completely changed the internet and the world of marketing. Social media has the power to build a brand and build brand awareness and build relationships and brand loyalty and so much more. So as we all work together to navigate our temporary new normal, I hope you'll take at least one thing today, and take it back to your facility to help you continue to be a resource for those who count on you each and every day. And I'm available in the chat box, or you can email me at jhoops@ccr-bhm.org. Thank you all so much, and I hope you have a great day.
Wonderful, Jill. Thank you so much for that information. And audience, I do hope that you will be encouraged by what she has shared. We recognize that many of you may not be comfortable or may not be using social media at this time, and that's okay. We encourage you to just explore different ways to reach your audiences, as she said, and this was just one way that you can do that. We're going to take a pause from the screen right now. First, I again want to say thank you all for being here with us today. We appreciate your participation and interest in ways that we can help support you. We have a poll that we'd like to ask right now, and you see that coming up in the chat section, which should be to the right of your screen, depending on how your screen is oriented. And we're just asking, is your center or childcare home open or closed right now? And we have answers flying in, as you can see in real time. It looks like, as we expected, the vast majority of you are closed. I'm going to give you just another minute or two to respond. Okay, as you can see, we still have some answers coming in. About 2/3 of the audience have responded so far. And again, the overwhelming response is that programs are closed. With the new Safer at Home order that Governor Ivey discussed yesterday, which begins after April 30th at 5 p.m., childcare is still considered a business that can open within certain guidelines. We have that information available in our handout section, or you can probably find it on the governor's website, where you can look at that, and it does have information about childcare being open here as an essential business. So right now we're going to close the poll. Again, we thank you for that. It's a new feature that we've been able to add in today with Voices. Again, Voices for Alabama's Children is our host for today's event, and we have many partners that are engaged in this presentation. Of course, you heard from DHR already this morning, and you've heard from Jill. We have another speaker coming up for you, and we also apparently have another poll. So the next poll to add is, if you are closed right now, what do you reasonably think you plan to open? This is not a test here. No one's going to come and check it if you open by this date or not, but just trying to kind of get a gauge on what the plan is. So we'll give you a moment or two as answers are flying in. Appreciate you participating. The options are opening within the next 2 weeks, opening in 3 or more weeks, and unsure. We'll wait another moment as answers continue to come in. Right now, it's sort of evenly split between opening within the next 2 weeks or waiting 3 weeks or more, with about half of you unsure yet as to when you will reopen. And again, our hope today is that from the information we're sharing with you, you will feel more confident in making a plan to reopen, especially utilizing the marketing tools that we're focusing on in today's session. As you continue to respond to the poll, just want to let you know that this is a part of a series of webinars that we're hosting the next few Wednesdays. Each Wednesday at 10 a.m., we will have a speaker or two on a specific topic. Today's topic, again, was Ready or Not, Here They Come, how to prepare for opening your program. And our focus is on marketing and getting your message out and ways to connect with your families, with your coworkers, and with your community. Next week's sessions will be about cleaning and sanitizing, and we will have a representative from Jefferson County Department of Health. While they are representing Jefferson County, I believe their information will be relevant for all of you across this great state of Alabama. So we're going to move on to our next speaker now. She is another dear friend of mine. Her name is Holly Lollar, and she is the founder and president of her company called the Lollar Group. And she has vast array of experience in public relations and marketing. And most importantly, she is a mother of 3 young children. So she has been a customer of childcare and certainly appreciates and understands the business that you are in. And she's here to share some marketing tips with you all as we continue today's session. Thank you and welcome, Holly. Hang on just a minute. We may be having some technical difficulty. I apologize for some technical difficulties today. I believe we have a handout from Holly. If we can pull that up in the handout section. I'm going to pull up the handout that Holly prepared for today's session, and I'll share some of the information from it with you all, and hopefully we'll be able to hear her chime in. So the main thing is that, as Jill alluded to in her presentation, now is the time, especially if you are closed or you're maybe operating on a reduced schedule, now is the time to be composing your message that you want to put out to the community about your plans to open, and also to use some of the tools that you have at your disposal, such as social media. However, of course, a good old-fashioned phone call or even a handwritten note that you put in the mail system is still effective. Many of you may also be using email as a means to communicate with your families and with your staff. So whatever means works for you, the main thing is start communicating now. You may want to survey your staff to find out, if you're not currently open, what are their plans for coming back? What health concerns may they have that you have to be thinking about addressing to welcome them back into your facilities? With your families, what are their plans for returning to your program? If they have multiple children in your facility, are they planning on bringing them all back at once, or do they want to sort of phase back in? So now's the time that you can sort of assess and get to see what are the plans for your staff as well as your families. And again, as Jill said, this is the time to be thinking about those strategies, getting to know your audience, and finding out how you can communicate with them that makes most sense for you and for them. Again, as I mentioned, certainly using tools that are internet-based are helpful. And again, standard phone call, it always is refreshing to hear directly from a person, to see them. If you can do some sort of video chat feature, perhaps maybe you have FaceTime, or if you have other video chat features at your disposal, use those, because the connection there by seeing you and hearing you means so much to your staff and to your families at this time, rather than just another email or even a text message. So the more you can personalize your outreach to your audiences, that would be most helpful. Many of you are familiar with and probably quite adept at creating your own videos. Certainly that is a tool that I alluded to earlier. And again, you don't have to have a tripod and a fancy camera. That's all nice and everything. Again, our phones now are so flexible and useful. You can certainly create small videos from your own phones. And if you need help with that, if you have anyone really under the age of 20 in your home or in your neighborhood that you feel safe being a little close to, they can quickly show you how to create these videos that you can share. Communicate internally. Again, that starts with your staff. Where are they in this whole plan and decision to expand your operations if you're currently operating, or again to reopen? It's important to talk with them. Talk about your plans for cleaning and sanitizing the facility prior to staff and children returning. You may have to look at some of your equipment that is not as easily cleaned and disinfected, maybe some of your soft items such as stuffed animals, plush toys, things like that. If you don't have a real good way of cleaning and sanitizing those really daily, you may have to consider either putting those up or discarding those for now, and possibly replacing them with other items that are going to be easier for you to clean and disinfect. Once you communicate internally with your audience of staff, any owners or directors that you have involved in your operations, make sure you communicate externally. Again, with your families, of course, and then certainly your community. Let your community know your plans to either expand operations or to certainly welcome back families and reopen your facility. So again, start with your families, letting them know what your plans are. Communicate with them what you're doing on the health and safety side to prepare your facility for them to be confident in returning their children to your care. And then also let the community know, local businesses, that as they start to return back to business, let them know that you're available to help care for their families. The media, of course, is certainly a great opportunity, particularly if you're in smaller communities where you have local newspapers or even local radio stations. Certainly TV, we often think of going to TV. And fortunately, or at least I know here in Central Alabama, we have seen some good coverage lately on child care and how this pandemic is affecting child care and what child care is doing to be responsive to the needs in their communities and for their families. So those are just some tips that Holly had prepared to share with you all today. I sort of summarized those based on the handout that is available in your chat feature section under the tab Handouts. You can download that. All of these handouts and the recording of this session we will make available to you following today's session. And again, we hope that we will be able to have you join us again for the upcoming series of sessions. Again, today's focus was on steps you can take to prepare yourself for reopening your facilities or to, again, expand your operations. I thank Holly for the time and effort she put into preparing that great presentation. And we did talk quite a bit, so I hopefully I expressed what she had desired to share with you today. So I see her head nodding. Again, she is far more an expert in this field than I am, but because of our conversations in preparing for today and the handout she prepared, hopefully you were able to get that information. We're coming near the close of our time today. We wanted this session to be roughly about 45 minutes of your day, and we do have some tips to share with you. You can see on the screen now about some reminders about participating in a session like this. We do appreciate our friends from DHR being available. Again, the best way to contact them is to reach them directly with your questions. I know you had many questions coming in on the chat feature, and they will be a part of every one of these sessions for the next 3 weeks. So they will have a strong team with them present at every one of these events. And so we can share with them some of the questions you posed today, and hopefully they can address some of those on the next session. Again, we want to thank our partners, Voices for Alabama's Children, for hosting and coordinating today's event. Again, we apologize for some technical glitches we experienced. And those unfortunately happen when you're working in this space, and there's such demand right now for the internet, for technology, and it sometimes has a few glitches. We hope again that you've been able to pick up a few tidbits of information from today. And I have found, as I listened to the recording of our last webinar, which you can find on Childcare Resources website. Again, our website is ccr-b, as in Birmingham, hmbhm.org. We have the Clarity During Coronavirus session and handouts available on our website. And I picked up a lot of information just by listening to the recorded session. It was really helpful and reassuring. Again, we applaud you for your work. We appreciate what you are doing every day to be a small business owner and operator, an employee, an employer. You are essential to this great state of Alabama. You are essential to your staff. You are essential to your families. And when I was thinking about this session today, many of you may be familiar with the movie The Help. And one poignant clip from that movie that I thought about as we were preparing for today is where I believe her name is May, is talking to the little child, Adelaide, and she's affirming that young lady. And that's what many of you do in your work, and that's why you got in this field to begin with, because you want to send positivity to the children in your care. You want to send positivity to the families and to your staff. And certainly this has been a time when there's been many confusing and often negative messages. And I know you are anxious to get back to being in that positive communication opportunity with your families, with your staff, and certainly with those young children in your care. And so as we go off today, I want you to know that you are smart, you are important, and you are loved and thought of. And we thank you for joining us today. Again, many of you may have registered for today and next week. Voices is our partner in both of these sessions, and as well as the Women's Fund, who has been encouraging this and providing funding that we shared on the first session a few weeks ago. Of course, DHR and our friends at the Birmingham Business Alliance, who brought us Holly today. They reintroduced me to Holly. And so we're glad that they have joined us. It does take a group effort to put something like this together, and we are very grateful to all of our partners. We thank our speakers today, Jill Hoops and Holly Lollar, Bernard Houston and Jennifer Cannell, who you were able to see and hear from today. They also had on standby, again, representing licensing, Debbie Dodd, and representing subsidy, Candace Keller. So we thank all of them for being prepared for this day. You will receive a link with a recorded version of today's event. And remember, next week's session is going to be all about cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting. Oh my! So we will have a representative from Jefferson County Department of Health to talk about that, as well as hopefully one other representative to talk about that topic. Again, thank you for your time today. And as we close, we wish you the very best this wonderful Wednesday, and thank you for being with us. Have a wonderful day.
You was kind, you was kind, you was smart, you was kind, you was smart, you was kind, you was smart, you was kind, you was
Thank you.